talk about the Jew of yesterday.
Yes. Okay, today is Tuesday, May 27th. We're at the Chazzan Moshe Bazian.
As I was known in Israel, in Kishinev.
Oh.
Here I'm known as Bazian because the Tse became a Z and the A became a A, so it's Bazian, but there it was Bazian.
Bazian.
Nicht Bas, nicht Ben, Bazian.
Bazian.
Base, alles Tzadik, Yud, alles Nun.
Okay, it was agreed to tell us a little bit about his family background, about the Jews of Kishinev. Hopefully this will be used for good purposes, for historical documents in the future, for his family, and for the benefit, and also for the benefit of the yeshiva that's being rebuilt in Kishinev today.
Yeah.
And he's given us his permission to use these materials.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much. Okay, for the sake of your children and grandchildren, why don't you start off by telling us your parents, their names, who they were. Tell us a little bit about, just for family history.
My father, his name was Shmuel Bazian, Shmuel ben Reb Shlomo HaKohen Bazian. He grew up without a father. I did not have a grandfather in neither side, nor from my mother or my father. My mother, Leah Shalom, her name was is a girl, Sarah Malkin. And as much as I know the history of my father and my mother, when they got together and they fell in love, then my father said to her, "No," he said, "I'm going tomorrow about the army there. If they do not take me, then we will get engaged, so to say." And they didn't. So that's how, but my mother never, she was Israeli. She had two sisters and a brother. She was the oldest, 12 years old. And she worked in a place that they made kvass. Kvass is a drink. It's not a liquor. It's sort of, it was made, I think, from fruit, and it had a wonderful sweet taste, and it had a shtoch a bissel, but it had nothing to do with alcohol. It was non-alcoholic, and that was called kvass. As a matter of fact, I think in Brighton Beach they still sell kvass. So, and she worked in a place like that, and when my father, Lashon, wanted to take her out, he had to pay what she owed.
From working.
Yeah, it seems that she got a little bit in advance, and he came, he said, "I want to take her out." He said, "Well, but she owes me so and so much." I said, "Okay, I'll pay up," and that's it. And my mother, of course, was very, very poor. She had nothing. He had to buy her everything, even the underwear and everything.
She was a summer.
But Baruch Hashem, they got married.
Okay, so let's go back. Approximately when were your parents born? Do you have any rough idea?
My mother was born in 1896, May the 29th. Okay? I think she was born in Nikolaev. And my father was born in Odessa, and I also that year. I don't know the exact day.
Were either of them in Kishinev in 1903?
Yes, well, yes, they were at 1914. The 1914 year, the pogrom. And my mother told me stories.
Tell me the stories that you heard.
I don't know whether it was 1903. Maybe that's what you meant.
It was 1903 and 1905.
Yeah, that she said the blue.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to stop 1 second. Moshe, I'm going to just. Are we getting a twinkle in his eye when he's looking at me? Can you just zoom in on him for a second? I just want to make sure that we're going to. You can. Okay, because there seems to be not much of a. Okay. I don't know what we're doing.
Just move it.
What? Just need a little bit more.
Yeah, that's better.
What? I need.
That's better.
What did you say? okay, look at me for one second. Yeah, that's much better. Okay.
That's better.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you raise it for a second so I can? Yeah, that's it. Okay, much better. And I'm gonna cut down a little bit with I think
That's
the
fine.
freezer.
That's fine.
I don't think it's a little too bright over there. Doesn't jump out at you too much. Let me just see if this will make a problem
You have a focusing thing on that?
for him.
I'm not looking at it.
No, but sometimes your eyes.
No. So my mother, should rest in peace, she was a very fine person, growing up as a Yisrael, and she took care of her sisters and brother. And when she got married, my father, he was also a Yosem, but he had a mother. See, my mother had no father and no mother. He had a mother. My Babu Leah Shalom, I remember her very, very well, because she lived in Kishinev, and later on, my parents lived in Kishinev, and they had a bakery there. My father was a very, very fine baker, and he was a fantastic Chazzan. But he never wanted to make a living from Chazonis. Because, you know, in Zreidalach, to make Parnasse from Niden was not so easy. And he wanted to be independent. He always used to say to me, Moshe, West is an Chazen, sollst du sein, so Trasachal, sollst treten de Gaboi mit deine Fies. So nicht, sollst du nicht sein. See, you can be independent, and Baruch Hashem, I was like that here. No one, I had the best positions here as a Chazen. No one ever dared to tell me what to do. I was the boss. Wherever I was Chazen, I was the Kingsbridge Jewish Center for 7 years, and I was in Flushing for 15 years, and I was here at Eitz Chaim for 14 years. And the minute they got a little bit out of line, I said, goodbye, I don't need them. And today, Baruch Hashem, I have a very good position for the high holidays, but I don't want no yearly position if he gave me any amount of money. First of all, I don't need it. Baruch Hashem, Hashem was good to me. So now,
This is
the
your parents.
Chazonis I have from my father, because my father was a Zoga, he could make a stone cry. That's how good he was. I started in his choir, I was not about 6 years old. And of course, a Chazan in Europe did not daven alone, like here. A Chazan had to have a choir. I mean, without a choir, how could you warm up? You needed, like they say, if you want a fire, you know what I mean, you take on the fire and put a little gasoline, and that will give him. That's what a Chazan needs. He needs that choir to give him a little bit. And my father was from never davened without a choir. He himself put up the choir and everything.
Which shuls did he?
Well, we davened in Bin Der. If you heard, Bin Der was I think something like about 25 kilometers from Kishinev. Kishinev was, of course, he davened in Kishinev too, but not that I remember. That was before me. We davened in Galatz, in Romania. We davened in Rainer. As a matter of fact, I made concerts already when I was about 8 years old. And we davened in Rain, we davened there in for Yom Noraim, and in between, my father put up a concert, and I did a concert Saturday night. It was biggest success. And over there, if they packed in, like herring in a barrel. People wanted to hear, especially when they heard a Wunderkind is mir gekommen her. And my first of all, let me tell you that was my father also. My father was a very talented. He grew up without a father, don't forget. Yet he was a very, very good baker. He had his own bakery already in Kishinev. And Chazonis only for the high holidays. You couldn't, no matter how much money you would give him, to daven more than that, never. That was it. When I was 5 years old, he got me into his choir, and I was a soloist then. And when I did the first solo, that did it. I said, that's what I like, because all the praises I got from all these people in gebenchtes the Mammes both was got as a kind and all of these Sachen, and I heard that. One gave me the cards, and one gave me a handkerchief a present, and one gave me a watch a present. I said, hey, that's good. But all of that later on, when 1940, when they came in, 1941, when the war started. But my grandmother, she was by us later on because she lost her first husband, got married a second time, very big Talmid Chochem. They called him Shmuel Ketayitz. He also used to come into the yeshiva Fareon. It was a very big Talmid Chochem.
Right.
Gewaldig. And then I think that he died because then she landed up to live with us. And she was a very, very frum person. She was wearing a shadel, and very, very frum. She's given a Vorsugerin. You know what that meant? Like a cantor. She was for the women. Okay, she knew the whole davening by heart. She would sit in daven. Männer can das nicht tun. They cannot do it like she did. Fantastic. So she was a very, very frum person. The end was not a good one for her because when the war started, my father Olofsson said that he had to leave, and he had 2 houses, he had 3 stores, and he had the bakery and everything, and so he's got to leave it because to save his life. So I said to my mother, I'm gay. So he went and he bought a horse, a wagon, because those days over there you didn't have many cars. And he told my grandmother, you stay here and I'll come to pick you up. And he came there and never found her. Never knew she disappeared.
We're going to get to the war in a few minutes.
My father was a wonderful person. First of all, he was very frum, okay? Not a chassid, not a beard, pious, but we grew up davening in a Hasidic shul, okay, in a shtibel, and Shabbos was Shabbos, and Yontif was Yontif, and Kashrus was Kashrus 101%. That, no compromise there, okay? Our house was the same thing, a real Yiddish Jewish home. Friday night, the most beautiful settings. In Yontif, the most beautiful settings and everything. As a matter of fact, that's what kept me. Because don't forget, I was all in all 14 years old when the war started. And I ended up in Russia. I could have been anything without my father, without my mother, without anyone. I could have been a bum. I could have been drunk, everything. But my father was a very, very hard person, when it came to bring up his children. I used to get a beating, I think, every day. And I was a good kid. But any little thing that he would think, first he would hit me, and then he would tell me what. You see? But when I was in Russia, and I saw the difference, I said, you see, this is why he gave me a beating. I should remember all of this. And I said, a gesunde seine Hand, for every punch that he gave me, now I realize why, because he didn't want me to be like them. See, it was not good enough for me to have, I had no friends. I had one friend that he was also a shtickl Chazzan, also a talented, but not as talented as I was, because I once had that concert that we made, that picture that I showed you, and he wanted also to sing that evening, and I made such a tremendous job on that evening that when he went and he started singing, they wouldn't let him. They started screaming, Ross, Ross, arunter, down, down.
Does that like they pulled him off the stage?
Yeah, I felt terrible because he was my best friend. But why am I saying? He was the only friend that I was.
Rolling?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
This fellow that I'm speaking about, he was the only friend I was allowed to go with. His father was a tinsmith. But they were Shomer Shabbos, that was the main thing and everything. And my father did not want me to mingle with other. Wanted to keep me, you know what I mean? As a matter of fact, as a child, I grew up, I wanted to play soccer, you know, like every child. I wasn't allowed to do it. Why? You're a Chazzan. You gotta watch your voice. You gotta watch your. And I wanted to be a child in Zolas. He meant well, but he wouldn't let me. He wouldn't let me. No, no, no. Swimming, no, nothing. But this fellow, his name was Herschel Talmatsky, was my best friend. Okay? And that evening that I gave for the poor children, and there were a lot, I mean, and it was a tremendous success. They made a lot of money, because I remember that a committee came the next day to my father also, and they gave him a lot of money, and my father wouldn't accept it. They said, please, we want you to, because we were so thrilled with him and everything, so I don't know whether he did accept or not, but I remember that they wanted to give him some money for that.
Was your father a strict guy or a fun kind of guy?
My father, first of all, he was a very, very smart person. If anybody had anything to ask questions or something that he wanted to, they would come to my father. And my father was very fair. Even if it would be against his own children, if he had to do it. As a matter of fact, my mother told me a story that I have an elder brother, that it seems he had a sichsuch with a friend, that he was in business or something, and that fellow was saying that he owes him money, and he said, no, I don't owe you this and this and that. So he said, let's go to your father. And whatever your father will say, I will accept it. And when he came to my father said, how can I do this? It's my son. So he says, I know you. And I know that if you will feel that I'm wrong, you will say I'm wrong, and I will accept it. And if the other way, you will do it too. If a guy says like that, so my father said, okay. He told the story, and my brother told the story, and when he heard my brother, he said, "Namarit the geld in Batsu. Pay." And he had to pay. My father said, that was it. That's my father also. He was very, very, very 100%. There was no such thing. As a matter of fact, in business, his credit was no limit. There were 11 bakeries there. And when they got together, nobody's signature was accepted. But my father had only to call and say, go ahead and deliver. Bazian. Oibschmiel Bazian wird upriefen and me bringen, and nicht bringt me nicht. And that's the way it was. He was very, very, very. My father also taught me that moitzis se fosecha tishma. Hast du gesucht a Wort, hast du gegeben at Kieskav, that's it. Whether you win or lose, And I lost here by Kiskaf, and not even a Jew. I lived in Flushing, and I had a house, and he's a builder. A guy came in and he saw the house, and he said, "How much do you want?" I said, $225,000. I'll give you 205. I said, "Okay, we got a deal." He said, "But I cannot take it now. It's within the year I could take it." Within the year, we shook hands and everything. That went up at least about $150,000 more, because when I wanted to buy another house, would be more money. Then I could have bought 2 or 3 houses. So he came to me, wanted a house. I said to him, "Listen, I cannot even buy a house for that money." He said, "But we shook hands, didn't we?" I says, "You're right. We did. Take the house." And he
So
did.
your father, huh? Tell me a story about your mother.
My mother, Alesha, was a very, very, very... She was not
What was her name again?
learned. Sorry was Rabbi Yosef. As a growing up without a mother and without a father, and she did not have no education, she couldn't sign her name. Later on in life, she learned to sign her name. But there is nothing finer. And like she would have gone to the biggest college in the world, because she was unbelievable. You would have never thought that she's uneducated. You would say she went through the biggest colleges, but she was a very, very fine person. And not because it's my mother, but you see, you could see the difference today. Children grow up with a father, with a mother, and the tzoros there is. And my mother grew up on her own, and she was the finest of the fine. And that's why my father fell in love with her like that, because she was something. I guarantee you that it wasn't the kind of a life. First of all, they lived a beautiful life. We saw only love in the house. They would eat from the same plate. Maybe they had their own plate, but then they would end up. She would give him, and he would give her. That's the most beautiful thing when you see between father and mother like that. It was really, Yontif was Yontif, and Shabbos was Shabbos, in the middle of the same thing. We were not allowed to come late. We knew exactly when lunch is and when dinner is, and we had to be there, every one of us. There was no such thing as one comes later, one comes early, give me, give it. There was a law that everyone had to be at the table at that time. And we better be there. Because if not, I remember I was a kid, maybe about 7 years old. It was a very, very thin, I never ate well. Somebody, my father used to smoke, and somebody stole his cigarettes. I don't know, Ad Hayom. One of my brothers must have done it. I had 2 brothers. He said, "Who took the cigarettes?" And they said, "Ich weiß nicht." And hij zegt, "Ich weiß nicht, wie ich habe ich nicht gewusst." I said, "Ich weiß nicht." He put us in the line, took off the strap. And boy, did we get a beating. I was crying, I was hoarse, I couldn't speak no more. Ad Hayom, I don't know. One of them must have taken it, okay? But he was a very, he knew that if you fool him, or you something like that, there's no such thing. If anyone would have told him, would have been fine. But they never the Yom, I don't know who did it, but he was a sehr strenger, but he was a good father. Everything we wanted would give us, but with respect, and it was on every little thing we had to, Even the walking, the talking, every little thing had to be. My mother Leshon fliegt zugen, als ich darf mir gehen. Und Hashem, geht wie gegangen. Everything they taught us.
How many brothers is it that you
I
have?
had two brothers.
What are their names?
One is here, Yossel. He's 4 years older than I am. And one got killed from an airplane crash. He was 36 years old in Russia. As the plane was landing, something happened and everyone was killed, about 37 people.
Sisters?
I have a sister, a twin sister. She's here,
What's her name?
Esther.
Let me tell me about the education that you received.
Okay. Now, education, at the beginning I went to Cheder. There was a Cheder, because there was no such thing as yeshiva from the beginning. You had to, when you came into the yeshiva, you had to be ready for the yeshiva. You had to know at least perfectly to read the Hebrew, to daven, and you had to know Chumash and Rashi already. The yeshiva was already where you started Gemara, you started Mishnayos and all that, but no, they wouldn't. Here they teach you from Aleph base, not in Europe. In Europe, yeshiva was a higher education. When I came into the yeshiva, we started with Psuchim, okay, and didn't even Chumash or Rashi didn't. Only the higher learning.
Mm-hmm.
That was yeshiva.
What age does one enter yeshiva?
I was about almost 11 years old.
Until then you were in Cheder.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about what was Cheder like.
Well, Cheder, you started from Aleph base. Okay, first of all, they would teach you the Aleph base. I had a very, very, very good Rebbe. He was as a matter of fact, I've learned through him. I teach chazonis, I teach vocal technique, I write music for them and everything, and I learned through him how to teach. Because he was the kind of a person, if you did not know certain passages, he will take you back about 100 times until you knew it. He didn't care, you could cry, you could do anything. Many times as a child, you don't want to go back, you want to go forward. And he would take me back, and I would get angry and start crying. And so I had the same thing with my children here that I was teaching my mitzvahs and so, and I would do that, they would start crying too. But this is the only way you succeed, is until that child can speak that word in the way it's supposed to be. And as long as I have now a new person that I've been teaching him chazonis, and that's the first year that he davened there, and they can't believe that this is him. The Ivre was terrible, because he was going here to go in these cheder here, that's not a cheder. I was cantor in Flushing, and the shamus died suddenly. While it was Thanksgiving Day, while it was staying Shemoneh Esrei for Mincha, just dropped dead. So the rabbi, he said, the Chazzan, why don't you take over until we get somebody? I said, okay. I took over, and when they heard the first bar mitzvah, said the Rosh Hashanah, he says, Chazzan, please, you do it. Because I taught my bar mitzvah b'chiyam, every one of them today read the Torah, and you call them up mafta, they will do mafta right there and then. I didn't teach them like they do it over here, they make a tape, for the Haftarah, you learn the Haftarah, and a week after, or maybe 2 days after, you don't know, you forgot it. My way of teaching was, first of all, I taught you the trop. You knew every trop, you knew, whether it's Adago, Tevim, Mapach, Pashto, Zakev, Katon, all of that. You knew it, and not only that, I would write it, and whatever I wrote down, he sang it. Then I knew. And when he knew that, that's when I recorded for him the first portion, just one portion, that's it. And then the rest he would come and he would do it. And all my children that I have taught today, they thank me. Because
This you learned from your Cheder Rebbe.
yeah, that's from my Cheder Rebbe. He was also very...
Were you a troublemaker or were you a good student?
I was a very good student. I was a listener. When I came, so many times I would sit near and he would give me a touch. So I would give him a stick of a patch, so he would start crying, Moshe, but the long the patch. So the Rebbe would come over, Moshe. Die hast du da gesagt, nee, ich hab... Sagt er, gibst Chagit Kind, the hand, sagt der Zeug nicht. So he would take and give me a Zetz with the pencil. And it hurt. So I would start crying. He said, hey, I'm not doing nothing to you. It's only the hand I'm doing, because it's the hand that did it, not you. That's the kind of... But he was a very wonderful, wonderful teacher. As a matter of fact, in reading Hebrew, and all of that I've learned from him, I'm a mumche. As a matter of fact, when I came here, my first concert that I had in Hunter College, and I knew nobody, and they didn't know me, and it was the Morgenjournal. Remember those days? Yeah. So they wrote in the Morgenjournal about me, because we had that time Sholem Katzel, Sholem, we were about 12 Chazunim, but top Chazunim, and I was unknown. And he wrote, here comes out in Germana Grina, I did Lekil Boruch, and there's a mumche. That's what he said, ich bin a mumche. It was wonderful to hear for the first time. Baruch Hashem, I was very successful in my cantorial career. Yeah? I had the best positions all the time. And that was, and many times even when I teach, I think of my rabbi. I got from him Pesach Otagesen. I don't remember the second name, but he is a Gevena teacher. He made you chew over and over and over and over and over again. And then my father was he was the same thing. When he taught me Chazonis, all the Chazonis that I've learned was from him. He wouldn't accept anything less, that every word had to be counted. He used to say to me, Moshe, mit darf anlegen jedes Wort in Mula to say. You know, you understand this? You have to put every word into their mouth. And as a matter of fact, wherever I was Chazen, women would say, I in the Chazen, I'm a Chaye. Bekimen rein, mit darf not finish that when we come in, we know exactly where he is right away. That was, Ad Hayom, I'm like that. Because the most important thing, if you can't do Shabbos or Rotzi, so Korban is out, if he's a Berushamo, im Sedurin is also a Ger, Cholo, Tome Ochem, Zorodamavim, Dureho, Gedula Bochoru. Every word you hear. And this is the most important thing. That I learned from my Rabbi Oloshon, because he said, I darf hear jedes Wort, and my Tat Oloshon in the Chazonis, he said, nothing will I accept, but every word has to be counted. If I and I do the same thing to my sons. I have 3 sons, God bless them. 2 of them are Chazonim, but do not make a living for Chazonis. I did not want my children to have to come to a committee and ask for a raise, and he's going to say, why does he deserve a raise? What is he doing? Comes in once a week to daven. Thank God. I have 3 sons, all professionals. 2 of them are CPAs, and one of them lives, as a matter of fact, I came yesterday from there in Silver Spring, Maryland. He is a computer consultant. And Baruch Hashem, he's a beautiful chaz, beautiful. Has a sehr schöne Stimme, tenor, beautiful coloratura, beautiful chazonis. He heard me teach and everything, but I told him, no chazonis making a living. I don't want that. Just to keep up tradition, the high holidays. That's it. And that's what they do. They daven for the high holidays. And they the same thing. I told them that every word has to be counted.
Tell me a little bit about, okay, so basically you went to Cheder, then you
I went to Cheder.
Tell me about Rabbi, this yeshiva was the one that
Arav.
founded by Rabbi Tzirlson.
Arav Tilson, he was the
Tell me, I've only heard his name, I want to get an idea of what kind of, who he
Well,
was.
I even have somewhere his one of his sworn here, or might have it in Yerushalayim now. I went to his palace for a Shabbos minche, and before minche he would give a shir.
Okay, start again. I went to Rabbi Tzirlson just because we won't be able to sometimes.
To Rabbi
Start again.
Tzilson's.
Start again.
I went to Rabbi Tzilson to his palace, because he had his own palace, and people came to listen to him for shir. And the man delivered a shir, people were sitting, you know, and I'll never forget it. He was not too tall, white beard, like Santa Claus that he's saying lehavdil elef avdolim, not to compare. And when he went to the Beis HaKisei, you know, to the bathroom, people came in, and this one held the water, and that one held it, and the cover that he got. First of all, he was a very, very big Talmud Chacham, he was a big man. He even was in the parliament, in the Romanian parliament, when the king would write, and so he would be, he had a special, but in the yeshiva, I never saw him. Okay? But when I went there, into his palace there where he would deliver, many times, maybe he went into the higher classes, but I was, like I would say, in the middle, okay? And I never saw him coming in for hair to listen to. But my Stiefzede, my grandmother's husband, he came in to listen to Faher and all of that. He was a very big. I used to go many times to sleep there, and I used to be hungry a little bit too, because don't forget, the food was not like over here. We ate at the yeshiva, and many times I was hungry. So I would go to my grandmother to be fed a little bit, and I would sleep over already. He would sit almost 3/4 of a night and learn. Constantly learn. Big, but Shmil Kitayits, they called him. You know why they called him Kitayits? Because over there, everybody they had, my father, Shalom, his nose was, you know, like that. So they called him Shmil Karnos, a Karnos nose. They never called him Shmil Bazian, Shmil Karnos. He was Shmil Kitayits because his eyes were like China. Kitayits, China, Kitayits. So they call him Shmil Kitayits. That's the way. And so I'll never forget, it was packed. Not only yeshiva b'chir, but people come to listen to his shir. And He was known all over the world. I'm surprised that you didn't hear of Rav Tzils, and he was Shem Dover. Yeah, it was a very, very, very big. The yeshiva itself was a fantastic yeshiva. Had a tremendous amount of Buchirim. And as I say, we Kohanim, we had many, many problems with that because the Moshe Bazian would lose people many times, and all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, boom! Because the law is that if the roof meets with the other one, a coin is not bigger than oil. You know, it's so.
Because Yeshiva and the Moshe Bazian were connected.
Yeah, yeah, and
Say that.
yeah, because the yeshiva was like facing to the left was the yeshiva, and to the right was the Moshe Bazian, and that's what happened. That in the Moshe Bazian, people pass away, and many, many times in the middle of the night they would start screaming, "Kohanim, our voice." So we would have to go on. Shabbos, we would eat in the we had big benches all around in Oif, in like a backyard. Like over here we have a tremendous big yard there was, and we would eat outside every Shabbos because alle yeshiva buchim, because it was a dormitory. We slept there and we ate there. Okay, I remember the mashgiach. Moshe, his name was also, but he had a hunchback. He was one with a hunchback. Not, of course, with a beard and all that. And the Kashmir yeshiva was a known yeshiva. It was a very good yeshiva. But let me tell you something. When we look today and we look then, okay, I think that here in America you see more from Jews than you saw in Europe. People didn't go with it in the the way they do here. I mean, it's fantastic. You were afraid to wear a yarmulke because you had big anti-Semites there, and they would scream "Jidan la Palestina," the Jew go to Palestine and all of that. And then we had in Romania, if you heard, there was like Hitler and there was the Kuza Goga, that they came to, that they took over the government for a little while. And then they started already coming, their people in speaking and making speeches right across our bakery. They said, "Whose bakery is this? Jewish. Whose pharmacy is this? Jewish. Who started that? Jewish. Soon it's going to be ours." You see? But somehow they didn't last too long because the king saw that they struggled overnight. And it was also a tremendous miracle and Nas min Hashemayim. It happened just about Purim time, that the king gave the off, and they were out.
Tell me about the relationship with the non-Jews in the town. You said your parents told you about the pogroms. They remember. You remember them?
Oy vey, very bad, very bad. They were in the streets. Blood was flowing like water. My mother said, first of all, my mother had another two girls before. I never knew them. And one got killed when it seems that the French came in there, and they took out the baby and just threw it in and killed it. And the other girl was two girls. My mother never lost three children in her lifetime. The two girls and my brother never that got killed from a plane crash.
So these two girls were killed in pogroms?
Yes, they were killed, sure. And my mother used to tell a lot about the Kishinev pogrom. Oh, yeah. We couldn't believe when she did. So erzählt, die vielleicht sagen, blieb dort gerinnen in the Gassen. Menschen und sie zerschnitten the Hälse, you know, they would cut their throats and everything. Just living was, you know, it's funny that as a child, I never could understand that people can do that. But now that we lived through the Hitler time and we know what they're capable of doing, I mean, compared to what happened in the Hitler times, this is almost nothing. So you see that we somehow, I personally, I always say, it seems that from the time we said Nasa v'Nishma, that's it. We were condemned to why do they hate us? What do we do to the world to make us hate us? Because we're successful. I came to this country with nothing. Nobody gave me a pen. I didn't go for welfare. I didn't go to nobody for nothing. I worked for $14 a week. And everything I have, thank God, I with my here, this did it and this did it. I worked in the bakery here too. I came here, I couldn't make a living as a cantor immediately. I learned how to work in a bakery. And I worked in a bakery about 2.5 years before I got a good position in cantorial. And I stood there for 1 year. For the second year, when they came to me, Chazzan, we want you to quit the bakery because I used to catch colds. And I said, then you got to give me a good raise. They said, fine, we'll give it. And that was it. Baruch Hashem, I quit. But as I say, why are we hated? My children, they should live and be well. They finish college, the highest madregas. My sons, they're in the who is who. They got Benji got that's my firstborn son. He got the Kennedy Award. Shlomi, he's a CPA. He got a bond and he got he's also in the who is who. Menachem was in the top of the list, also in the who is who. So Baruch Hashem, that's why they hate us, I guess, because they are too lazy to do it, and we are at fault. And they blame us because we stress to our children that this is it. Do you want to be some things? You want to be somebody? Go, learn. When I started my chazonis, I knew chazonis. Okay, I came over here. My first position was in Passaic, New Jersey. As a matter of fact, one of my sons live now in Passaic, New Jersey. So I was at Temple Emmanuel. It's a reformed shul, I guess. And that time was Haskell Ritter was the chazan there, and I was in the Orthodox for the high holidays. I'll never forget it. They came to listen to chazonim, you know, probe. And I came in, and the rabbi from the Joint Distribution Committee, he listened to me and everything. I guess he liked my chazonis. And when I came in, I saw there were about 50 chazonim or so. I wanted to go away. I said, by the time it's going to come to me, I said to the rabbi, I says, listen, I'm going. He said, where are you going? I says, look what you got here. Please stay here. So he went over. There was the committee, the rabbi there, Rabbi Zucker, without a yarmulke, without anything. And the president, the vice president, they came. So you see, it seems that he told him, listen, I want you to listen to this young man. I came in, asked me some questions, and then they asked me to sing Lekeil Oirech Din. I couldn't believe it, because in Romania, the Chazan never did it. It was the Balshachris that did it. But I said to myself, hey, maybe here they do it, and they do. The Chazonim here, the second day, they do it. So before I even started or anything, I said to them, I don't feel too good vocally, so I have a little cold. So he said, every Chazzan that comes to audition, he says that. And he said, do a little Lekele Orachdin. It's fine. Stop. Just like that. Stop. So he says, Tommy, you said you got a cold? I said, yeah. He says, if you sing like this with a cold, how will you sing without a cold? Then he says, how much do you want? I said, $1,000. In 1950, it was a lot of money. So he says to me, mit zwei Paar Hosen, with 2 pair of pants? I couldn't understand that. I says, what it was meant to, what do you mean? He said, you see, when a cantor comes to audition, he always has to come with 2 pair of pants. 1 pair he could let down. I says, no, I came with 1 pair. Anyway, they offered me $900. I took it. I said, okay, of course, they would pay for the hotel and everything. So I took it. And I davened there, and it was very, very successful. I got a letter from Mr. Faber, a German Jew, and he couldn't get over my diamond. He wrote me a letter, and he said, a diamond, the more you polish it, the better it shines. Well, you are the diamond. And please, don't forget, polish it. The more you will polish it, the better. And it's true, that's what I did.
Tell me about you singing in Kishinev. You had a picture of yourself and 8 years old. Did you sing it ever in Rabbi Tzirelson's show?
No, never did.
Where did you sing?
I sang in first of all, this concert was in Kaushani. Kaushan was about 60 kilometers from Kishinev. My father, Shalom, as he had there, the bakeries, he had twice. They came into the house through the windows, and he had a hold up and so. And he saw that's no good. So he decided to move from there. He moved from there to Kaushani. Kaushani was a small but Jewish town. It wasn't a dorf, it was a shtetl. A dorf would be like where the farmers were. Then those are Geisner dorf. Here it was a little city, all mostly Jews, pious Jews. Yeah, but not, you had the Jews with beards too, of course, but none like over here, the Hasidim over here. Didn't have it. Even those that were with beards and with pious, somehow they were different. Nicht gegangen mit den Zitzes in Dreußen and here it's different. So that's where I gave the concert. It was called the Naya Shul. That was the biggest shul there, very big shul. They had about 5, 6 synagogues there. And then they had small little synagogues in Shiblach. But that was a big synagogue.
Basic question: when you learned Gemara in Rabbi Tzirelson's?
Yes. In the yeshiva.
When you learned Gemara, did they have a tune like that?
Oh, sure.
How did that go, more or less? Like,
Sure. It's like in the more you went in, the more you got into it, the more, like my grandfather, when he would sit, the learning was only singing. Didn't learn all with a beautiful the Bialystoker Stuttmagid. Did you ever hear of him? No. He used to be here. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I davened here in the Young Israel of Tremont Avenue, and he was there on a Friday night. I davened Friday and Shabbos, and he delivered in every little thing was with a nigun like Gemara nigun. Everything was sung.
Give me a little bit more than Gemara. Maybe it's like current Shema Barabas or something. Give me a little bit of an idea of the name. Gemara.
In with such a mesikas, with these lahavas, that was the only learning in the yeshiva, and that was also when somebody would sit and learn with the people, like we would have Ochet Ashir at home, we would come into shul for the Ochet Ashir, ständig mit a nigun. It's been beautiful. I'll tell you the truth. You take, for example, in our shul at home, a plain bal tefillah. Plain bal tefillah would go over to Ram Shabbos. Is gegangen in alle Evering. It was so beautiful. The nusach tefillah was 100%, and he had such beautiful thoughts. Better than many chazanim here. What? You don't hear it over here. I come in here into a shul, and you hear people davening Shabbos. There's no nusach. Many of them don't even know Ivre. And this is how they are bringing up a door. This Friday night, I got so angry in Silver Spring. They sent over a guy to daven Kabbalah Shabbos. I mean, Kabbalah Shabbos. About Philip. That man started, it had nothing to do with Friday night or anything. And the whole Kabbalah Shabbos like that, I went over to one of the Balabana and said, shame on you. He says, why? I says, how dare you send over a person that knows no nusa whatsoever? Is that what you want the youth to learn? I mean, I grew up as a child. I heard nusa hatfila from A to Z was nusa hatfila. I don't care if it was a chazan or if it was a baltefila. We had baltefilas that were way more beautiful than Yechazonim.
Right, but that can't argue with that.
What are you talking about? They had on Shabbos, this Shabbos, they happened to have a bar mitzvah.
Talk about Shabbos. Shabbos by your table. Your father was a chazan. He had 3 sons.
We always sang.
Give me Shabbos nigun from the Shabbos table. Not
like
something. Start again. Start on a Shabbos nigun.
That was it. And we would, the whole mishpoche, we sat a whole evening and we would sing Zmiras, but Zmiras accordingly. So I wanted to tell you, the Shabbos, they had a bar mitzvah that leaned very nicely. The reading of the Torah was nice. What was no good was the Musaf. He done Musaf. And he does the Kedusha. Now what does this have to do with davening? You tell me. And not only that, the whole Kedusha like that.
Let's get back to Kishinev for a second.
This,
All right, I hear.
I do not,
Tell-
I cannot accept something like this. And I'll tell you another thing.
If I may, can I just
Sure.
try? I understand you have your issues with the davening and today, but I'm trying to focus a little bit. If you forgive me. Besides, okay, so you went to yeshiva in Kishinev. Let's go back for a second.
Right.
You went to Cheder, then you went to yeshiva. I mean, did you have any free time? Was there a whole day involved in this?
A whole day involved, yes. A whole day involved. And not a whole day, but a whole week like that, yeah. And if I went to my grandmother once, that was very seldom. You had to sit and learn.
Did you ever have any personal encounters with Rabbi Shilson, or was he sort of like a figure from a distance?
Well, I remember that this is now 50, almost 60 years ago, 58 years ago. So to remember all the name of my teachers is impossible. I remember him by the Chazzan. I remember very, very well. Why? Because first of all, he was the figure. He was it. And to me, when I knew that I'm going in, I was shivering. You know what I mean? It was not just coming in somewhere. Rav Chazzan. It was really something.
Let me ask you, in terms of the relationship between the Jews and the non-Jews, you said that there was a lot of
No good.
anti-Semitism
Yes.
constantly. I mean, was pretty widespread. Sort of this was prompted.
Well,
by
we grew up knowing the kind of anti-Semitism there was over there. Big anti-Semites. I would say just like Hitler in Machshem of Zichro. We couldn't go as children, okay? I could wear a hat, a little hat color with her, but with a yarmulke, they would have stoned us or something like that. Couldn't go like here. Baruch Hashem, people, you'll hear sometimes from others too, but at least you're not afraid, you could go. Over there you could not do it. No. The anti-Semitism was very, very rapid. And if they knew you're a Jew, they would immediately let you know that you belong in Palestine that day. Not.
so you didn't have any non-Jewish friends, or
No, non-Jewish friend. As a matter of fact, when the Russians came in 1940, they came in, okay? 1941, just before the war started, I told you my father still had the bakery, so I went out with rolls, to sell rolls there. And I was there was in our town, or in our little city there were two churches. One church was very, very tall, like they built those Russian churches, and the other one was this high. So once I asked my mother, why? So she said, that church that is so low, the Rebbe cursed it, and it sunk with the people. It seems that it was before their Paschas, Easter, and the Rebbe was going through with a horse and wagon. His shamus was, of course, and they were throwing stones at him and things like that. And he said, "Ze sollen eingezinken werden mit die Schule, mit der Church mit allem." And also wie gesucht, also das gewesen. And when the Russians came in, they went there, they opened up, and they took a lot of pictures there and everything. I, as a child, I used to look in through the window. All I saw is like stones. It seems from every one that sang there, they won't stehen and saying that. That's where I was over there, And as I was selling the last couple of rolls, one Bulgarian fellow, he was on horses, 2 horses, all of a sudden started driving his horses on me to kill me. I didn't know him, he didn't know me. And there was there was no water coming out of faucets. They had to deliver water. And this was a station where they would take the water, so the Gazen Vodokachki, where they would take the water to deliver. And there happened to be a lot of stones near it. And I remember I fell there, I got very scared, and more I don't remember what happened to me because it's not a joke. Then when I came home, the police came, the Russian police, claiming that I hit him in the head. It seems that the horses got scared because horses don't want to kill a person. And either he fell down, or he hit one of the telephone poles, whatever. And he claimed that but listen, I didn't know Russian language then at all and nothing, and they arrested me. And then there was a trial, and that I'll never forget when the Russian prosecutor said, you have to root out the Romanian hooligan, and then so I'm a Romanian hooligan. What did I do? I didn't do nothing wrong. And they gave me a year prison. I was not even 14 years old. And from there I went to prison, and the war started about a week later.
The Germans invaded.
My father, Olu Shalom, put in a appeal, and they let me free. But it was too late. When they came there, the prison was evacuated to Russia. So when I came to Russia, I had no father, no mother, nobody. I was all alone. And from there they took me to Kazan, the Tatarian Republic there, anti-Semitin. Ooh! These Tatarians, there was such anti-Semites. Ooh! And they are like Muslims. You know, they also get circumcised at the age of 13. And there they let me go. Within a week they let me out. Because they saw what kind of a hooligan I am. But the damage was done. I didn't have my parents no more and nothing. And from being a chazan as a child and a wonder child, I had to go work in the field and things like that. And believe me, but the Boine Shalom watched over me. That I can tell you. I can tell you a big nisim that happened to me, that Hashem performed for me. Okay? Because even today I'm thinking, how did I survive all of that? How did I survive? I had nobody. In the Rabbeinu Shalom, as a matter of fact, the day that I was let go from prison, I dreamed that my mother came over and I fell in a big ditch, and she said, give me the hand, give me the hand. And she took me out of that. And I knew, I said to one of my friends, ich bin sicher, ich gehe von da nicht heraus. I said, I'm sure I'm getting out of here. He said, how do you know? I told him my dream. And exactly it was, they came, Moshe Bazian, Moshe. Idi, Kuda, wie soll ich gehen? Where am I going to go? So they gave us a place where to go and to work in the field there. But the end was, Baruch Hashem, that I tried to escape, to go back to Basarabia. You know, a young kid, I was stupid. Where am I to go buy food? I had no work, no money, no nothing. And I went back to Basarabia to go. So they caught me, of course, the Russians, and they gave me 6 months, 25% to pay, and that was my luck, because then they took me from there, because over there were tremendous mosquitoes in the millions. They ate me up. I got sick there and everything. And then they got me into, it was Lubyanka. That is a place where I worked there, and I became brigadier. I became a big shot there, and I was in charge of about 34 people. And after that, I became master, okay? And Baruch Hashem, I did well. And then they sent me to Gorky. If you heard, Gorky was a big city. And from there, they took me into the army. And I was wounded. And then I was in...
Fighting where?
In the Russian army.
Where were you wounded?
In my knee and my shoulder.
From combat?
Yeah, sure. I was in a no, what do they call it? Razvedchik. We were the first ones to spy and to tell how much to send in.
Reconnaissance.
Yeah. And so I came to Oberschlesien in Poland there, and I was there in the hospital, and I brought in a friend, a Jewish guy, he was a photographer, and through me he became a millionaire, because the Russians, they loved pictures. So I brought him into 2 hospitals, and he did a lot of work there. And one day I come, I see he's making Lashon Tova. I says, well, when is Rosh Hashanah? When? He says, in 3 days. Oh, when I heard in 3 days is Rosh Hashanah, I didn't go back to the hospital. I went looking, where can I be for Rosh Hashanah? And in Poland, the only way you would recognize one Jew with another, if you say, Amcha. That was the
Code.
the code. So I go and see I saw there, Amcha. So I told him, I says, listen, I'm here in the hospital, so Rosh Hashanah is in 3 days, I wanna go to shul, maybe I could be by you. So she says, fine, but I have no place where to sleep, you will have to sleep on the floor. I said, fine, I'll sleep on the floor. So I was there, and I was in shul. When it came, I was in the Russian clothes and everything. When it came to Nsane Toikev, there was a man with a beard davening so, but I didn't feel that it's Rosh Hashanah. His nusach was not what it's supposed to be. So when it came to the Nsane Toikev, I started begging they should let me say it. And they're looking, everybody's looking at me, Russian, and they said, no, he should let me. I put on towels, and what was on my heart, I spilled it out in the Nsane Toikev. And when I finished it, they started, no, I should go on further. But I was very weak, and I said, that's enough for me. Now I know it's Rosh Hashanah, you know what I mean?
Give me a little bit of that.
Unesane toikev, kedushas, hayom, ki hunoir, ki hunoir, ki hunoir. Uveshidase Magozecha Veyikoin Bechezek Gisecha V'seishev Everybody, I said, it's enough.
And it was,
I feel that now it's Rosh Hashanah. Then they made the next day. They made for the Russian soldiers and for the Polish soldiers, Jewish, of course. They made Seuda and everything. And then they asked me again if I should sing the Unsane Teuke again. So I did it again. But then we're talking now about the Rebbeinu Shalom, that he was my guide. From there, I was in Dresden. This was in Sosnowitz. The second day, Rosh Hashanah, one of the...
What year was this?
Sosnowitz was in Oberschlesien.
And what year was this?
1945. 1945, right after in May it finished, in the next Rosh Hashanah. So he was my best friend, a Russian. We were in the same unit. He came over to me and he says, "They're looking for you." He says, "What's the matter?" He says, "Everybody is gone, and you were on the list." I said, "What?" So I said, "That's it. What am I going to come? Tell them that I went to shul? They don't believe in that and everything." So I said, "That's it. I have to run." So I came there. It was between Rosh Hashanah and Kippur. I wanted at least Yom Kippur too. So I came in there to an elderly lady in Zolzazan Gan Eden. She was a wonderful person. She said to me, "Listen, where are you going to go now? We will hide you there. Here. Stay here until after Yom Kippur."
The Jews?
Yeah. And after Yom Kippur, she had a son. He'll make papers, different papers, and I did that. So I stood till after Yom Kippur. And after Yom Kippur, he made papers. And we would do myself and another fellow. He was in the Polish army. Was a Zeuchet Anklofen. He ran away. So he had nothing. He had no money, no nothing. I had a lot of money. Why? Because I killed one of the generals, German, and I took away from him a watch with a big chain, a golden chain. I didn't even know how good that watch was until when they saw the International Schaffhausen. It seems it's the best in the world. And I got a lot of money for it. For that money, I bought Deutsche Marken. I wound up a couple of million. So I said, this fellow, I bought him civilian clothes, and we got dressed in civilian. Whatever I had, my documents and everything, I threw away, and I got a new document. My name was Burt Boris. Born 1914. I said, how can I be born 1914? I'm so young. They're gonna see right away. So I changed the 1 to a 2. At least it's gonna be 1924. So
When year were you born?
I was born 1925 May 1st. So I said, look, it was. I can't go on the 1920, 1914. They would see. So I made it at least 1924. And we went to Czechoslovakia. Through Czechoslovakia, we wanted to go to Munich. The papers that he made was no good. They sent us back. So then he redid whatever, and I came with the Rabboni Shalom Fiat. It's unbelievable. I see somebody, Amcha, two fellows, young fellows. Where are you going? First of all, I took this fellow, he fell in love with a girl, so I had on my shoulders him and his girlfriend. And okay, money I had was no problem. So then, before we went away, I made a special valise with a bottom where you put in all that money there, you know what I mean? And she had all of that. And we went away from there to Waldenburg. From there, we were supposed to go further. We come to Waldenburg, that was in Katowice. We were waiting for the train, and he looks and he says, Max, es wird weg in the train and wir bleiben du. No, sag sich nicht, don't worry. And we came there, the train was gone with her, and she had the money, and she had everything there. And so we went, anyway, we went there. We didn't find her. I said, listen, you go back. Most probably she went back there. And then you will come. That's the only way. So I had plenty of money. I gave him money, says, go. And I remained there. I stayed in the market, and I said to myself, let me make a few bucks, you know what I mean? And I went to buy a watch. And as I stay and I look at the watches, a Russian officer comes over to me. Document. I should give him documents. So I show him that, and he looks, he doesn't know Polish. And he wants to give me back the documents already, everything. So a guy comes over, he said, hey, Yisrael is not Yechton. If you don't know who he is, berät him of Kommandatur. Take him in Kommandatur. It was nice. There you'll find out. Russians, you don't have to tell twice. That's it. So he says, come on. And here I have everything, my pictures from that hospital, written in Russian. Okay? And everything. I wanted to throw away my wallet. I see it's no good. I cannot throw it away. What am I going to do? I couldn't throw it away. I came in there, and the Russians, the first thing, they tell me, Ruki vверх, pick up your hands, and they take everything away from me. Everything. And I said to myself, Faltik. They got everything black and white. And they start asking me questions in Russian, and I'm not supposed to know Russian. So whatever they ask me, I answered not in too good Russian, until they asked me where I was. I said Lagże. That's in Polish. That I was in Lag, concentration camp. Который Lag. Which? I said, Buchenwald. Das aber die Buchenwald. Who freed Buchenwald? I didn't know. I said, nix понимай. I don't understand. And I said, переводчик, you know, give me an interpreter. So he says, иди. They put me in a room there. There was about 8 fellows, one was a Jew. Ich say, Aiden, fange ich uns an Yiddish. I speak Yiddish with him and everything. And the minute I came back, I say to him, come here, you'll be the interpreter. So he went over, he says, Tavarish Lieutenant, on Yevrei, ja Yevrei, he's a Jewish, I'm Jewish, I could interpret. So he said, okay, ask him, what is he doing here? I waited until he asked me in Russian. I said, in Yiddish, I said, ich bin gekommen sich Navid, I came to look for work. So he tells him, он приехал искать работу. А почему он не работает? Why doesn't he work? Verwusst arbeitest du nicht? Ich habe nicht gefunden keine Arbeit. I didn't find no work yet. Who's willst du tun? What do you want to do? I says, I want to go back to Romania. Maybe I'll find my parents. And so he told him all of that. And Baruch Hashem, you know, he said when they put me into that room, I thought this is it. I was sweating bullets. And I started praying to Hashem. And I said, Rabbeinu Shalom, you brought me till here. You took care of me. You're not going to let me get lost here now in their hands. Show you Nissim v'niflois. Verbind sie der Hand. Mach sie blind, als sie sollen nicht sehen, wo sie sehen. I bet they were in exactly the way, because they took my documents, they had everything black and white written. They gave me back all my documents, with the monies, with everything when they let me go. And they said, me and the other one, both the Jewish fellows, to send us in the Polish Kommandatur. Of course, through 2 Russian soldiers with their rifles. They took us to and when I came in there, I said, Baruch Hashem, that I'm out of their hands. You know what I mean? We came in, so there was Jews over there. There was one that he's, it seems, second to the top. He came over and he spoke. And he said, Afidish, wo steht hier du? What are you doing? Now, after I saw what came, so I told him the truth. I'm running away from the army. Ich bin gewesen in Rosh Hashanah and Kippur in Shul. I can't tell them I was in Shul. They're going to kill me anyway. So, he said, wir werden dich nicht halten, keine Minute. We will not keep you here. And I told him the truth, that I am there, and they said, please. And that, it seems that the top man was a Polak. And he told them to keep us here so that they find out next day who we are. He said, wir werden dich nicht halten. No, you ain't gonna be here. You're getting out of here right now. And they let us go. But it shows you when I was young that I was stupid. Where do I go back to that address? I should have never gone to that address. I should have gotten out of there. And I come into there, and the next day it seems they said to themselves, he's a deserter. We let go a deserter here and everything. And they come to me at 12 o'clock at night. Both Jews. One is a Russian lieutenant, and the other one is a Polish poruchnik. The Jew is on their faces. And that Russian, he starts cursing, and he says, get dressed. But Boris, da, a device, get dressed. I started asking, what's the matter? I started crying and speaking in Yiddish, because Russian I was afraid to speak because they would see in my accent. And that Polish Poruchnik, he looked at me, listened to every word I said. I said, what do you want from me? I was there yesterday. Now they're coming to me at 12 o'clock at night, please. You know what he said to me in Polish? He didn't say it in English. He says, Ja pani jednego chansa dam. I will give you one chance. Jak pani nie ubierze, if you will not run right now, pani nie bude żyć. You will not live. Run right now. The minute we leave, you run. So, dziękuję bardzo. I thank you very much. But that Russian, he wouldn't let go. No, he said, Pashli, come on. I spoke to him, everything, and he got him out. The minute he got him out, what did I have? A little, less than this here, half of this size what it is. I put a few things and right out, and where am I going to go? The Rabboni Shalom leads me, you know what I mean? And I go and I see two Jewish fellows, Amcha, Amcha. Somebody says, listen, I told him the whole history. He says, listen, there is a transport going to Munich. Go there and there, it's in get registered there. I come over, and the main guys are German, and I told them my parents are in Munich, and I want to go. Kadach habe ich nicht kennt. I did not know German. I spoke German, but I Yiddish German. Now I speak German wonderful because I lived there 4.5 years. So I put in 10,000 marks into his hand, and I said, please, I must go because I heard that my parents are there. Put me on the list. He says, gut, aber Sie können nicht kommen jetzt. You cannot come now. Sie müssen kommen, wenn dunkel ist wird, when es wird dunkel, when it's going to get dark. I says, good. He put me on the list. As I go back, two guys and two girls go, and they say to me, Amcha, wie geht Ayid? So I told them, I'm coming, I registered myself. We are from Munich. We live in Munich. We came over here to sell our houses. Now we can't give back. If you can register us on this, the Shalom.
Which time is it? Well, I'm just like, what time we have to?
If you can register us, then you will take us up to the Granitz, to the board. We will take you across the board. I go right back, and I say to him, oh, wissen Sie, ich habe jetzt gefunden meine cousins. Sag ich, bitteschön. I gave him 30,000 more marks. Ich muss die haben. Sagt er, gut, ich werde wechseln an der Liste, aber Sie müssen das gedenken, nicht zu kommen, wenn es wichtig ist. Good. They put him on the list, and Baruch Hashem, we came there, and he had us on the list. We came into that thing. And where do we go? To the board, and they put us on the train, and all of a sudden they took us out. Before that, and we had to wait a whole night for another train to pick us up. And the Russians go around checking documents. And we were told not to show any document but German. You show anything else, they take you in. What am I going to do? I have a document that's a Polish document. So I was standing there, and they come over and say, "Dawai document." So I grabbed a document from a German girl. He said, "Was machst du?" Sag ich, "Sag nichts. Sag nichts." And they take that document and they look, it was at night, and they had those, that you know, with a light, and he looks, and he says, Warum Ruski Stempel nema? Why is there no Russian stamp? Nix понимай. Nix понимай. They gave me back, and they went away. I gave it back to her, and you can imagine how I was afraid that night was to me like 20 years. And Baruch Hashem, a train came and took us, and we came just about before the border there. They gave us that we should all leave, come out of the trains. They want to check all the documents. And one says to the other, если кто-то уйдет, he says, мы проверим все документы, that we're going to look through all the documents. And if one is moving in a stria, shoot. And I hear this and I said, boy, no shalom. Babas deine Nisim, show your Nisim. And he did. Within 10 seconds, there came a order, everybody into the trains because the train has to move. And we came into Munich. I didn't have no document. I could have never gone in. They had the documents from Munich. So Baruch Hashem, they took me in there. So you see the Nisim that the Rebbeinu Shalom performed?
So he was with you obviously throughout your experience.
Well,
how, you say you killed a German general. When did that happen?
That was about a week before the end of the. He said he's evacuating already. He's going. He had enough fighting. So I said, yeah, not the Euchedepis, and he had that watch. So I took that away. As a matter of fact, I want you to know that when I was wounded, I had a big from a wooden box, but as big as this, full of diamonds, the most precious diamonds you could think of. Because when we took the Germans, at the beginning we didn't take him as prisoners of war. Just shot him. But then
you were with the Russian army. You were when you captured Germans. You just killed.
But then near the Nesa Sprayer, near that was the water there, where the Russian army. Later on, we got together with the American army. So all the Germans that we took in as prisoners, they had to take off everything and throw it into a big box. There were diamonds, they had diamonds and everything, their watches, everything. So I filled up the most precious diamond, beautiful. But when I was wounded, somebody got it. I didn't need that. Baruch Hashem, I was alive.
Did you hear about to your parents?
My parents, my father, Olav Shalom, I had the schiyah yet to speak to him once on the telephone. And he said he wants to see me 1 minute and then die. But not before. But he did not live to see that. In 1964, he had a heart attack and he passed away. That was in Kesher.
He went back after the war to live in Kishinev.
Yeah.
Your mother survived the war?
Well, because they came back, right after the war, they came back to Kaushan, where we lived. And they said maybe, because they thought I'm dead. They for sure thought I'm dead. How am I going to survive? I mean, I was very, very delicate. A Chazzan. My father also used to say, it's verloren gehen, ohne mir, you're going to be nothing. The Rebbeinu Shalom showed different, you see. So when the war was over, they said, let's go back there. Oib Moshe lebt, it was no Shabbat. When they came there, they found such a stack of letters. My mother fainted. They had to bring the doctorians to bring him back to life. She couldn't believe it that I'm alive. And then I used to write to them, but it was very dangerous. So I wrote under a different name. Okay, I did, and I wrote to him, Tire Freund. I wouldn't say, my dear father, and he the same thing, because they arrested him, and they kept on asking, where is your son?
You're a deserter.
Yeah.
They kept on watching him.
Oh, yeah. They took him in a few times.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, so basically you never returned because obviously they were looking for you or something?
No. My mother, though, I had a schie to bring her here.
Yeah. Oh.
And I want you to know she was here for about a year and a half, and she didn't like America. You see, it shows you that when you get used to a certain life, you think, and she went back to Russia, and I was very angry about it because it was just before the bar mitzvah of my first son and the marriage of my first daughter. And I was very angry about it. The Rebbeinu Shalom, ich bin im Meuchel and the Rebbe soll sie Meuchel sein. But I was very angry about how does a grandmother that you had the schie to be here and you could have been and you didn't. Anyway, she went back. Within a year, she decided she wants to come back here. Well, I'm a son. What am I going to do? So I brought her back. After I brought her back, she said, there's no country in the world like America. God bless America. So you see.
Let me ask a question. What's the best way to pay honor, tribute to the Yidden of Kishinev that were once, in some way,
Well, let me tell you something. They were really tzaddikim, because to live under the kind of atmosphere that Jews lived there, and they could keep up Judaism and really be from the way they were, is Mesiras Nefesh. And these were big Balei Tzedakah. My mother, Shalom, she had 4 children to take care of, and also to help out in the business and everything. But she was always in the kitchen in the yeshiva, in the cheder, to cook and everything for the Bochirim to have something to eat. And we, Baruch Hashem, we were well off. On Fridays, the monies in the chalas that was given out every Friday, and my mother, Shalom, used to say, Shmilige, gib mehr, was mehr me give, racher werden. You know what that means? Give more. The more we give, the richer we get. And that was the truth. My mother, she used to give, because, and you know by us, there were a lot of poor people. Everybody got challahs and everybody got monies and everything. And she always used to keep on giving. She said, Shmilik, give mehr. Give mehr. The more you give, the richer we get. And it was true. It was true. And that's the kind of a people you had there. And at the time of war, my mother said that she used to take big, these baskets of bread and bring it to the people that didn't have what to eat. And she said, maybe in Dame's Chus, my son somewhere will be in it. And I did. I remember in Russia, I came in the night and they took me in and they put me on the oven to sleep. And in the morning they gave me to eat and everything. And they took care of me. Maybe talking Dame's Chus, because my mother was a big big. She, when it came to give tzedakah, nobody walked in our house hungry and walked out hungry. Forget it. Never. Mach nis eurich, man tato or so. That was the main thing.
Maybe you could, since your mother wanted to go back, could you understand, like, there's still 30-some odd thousand Jews today in Kishinev who they're not running to Israel. The America doesn't let them in, so they're staying there. Can you understand?
No, I don't understand. Because I wouldn't want to be there. I wouldn't have wanted to be in Germany. I was in Germany and I wouldn't be there if I knew that I could be a billionaire. No, Germany is not the place for me.
All right.
Why? Because there's too much blood, Jewish blood, every little piece
Well,
of
your mother went back, even after she was in America, she went back for a year.
Yeah,
So why did she?
well,
do that?
I'll tell you. My brother was still there and her sisters were there.
Okay, so these people there have family there, they have
Okay.
parents, grandparents.
But now my cousin is in Israel. Okay, she, her husband, and the children are in Israel, and the other ones. So it does show you. I don't understand why Jews would want to be in Kishinev instead of Israel.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think there's any value in building a yeshiva there?
Well, as long as they are Jews, yes. Yes. Because a Jew without a yeshiva is like a fountain without water. I mean, Ki'em Chayenu v'yorech Yimenu. I mean, this is our life. Torah. Torah masim tovim. If we don't have Torah, we have nothing. Look, I just read an article in the Daily News about a Jew that didn't circumcise his child. I don't know whether you read it, because the wife said that it's too barbaric, and she doesn't want to do it to her son. Azoch and Azvei. If this is what we came to. I mean, we have so much intermarriage. Thank God for the Hasidim. Thank God for the Shemra Shabbos. Because if not Shemra Shabbos and nothing, what is the whole Jewish nothing worth? It's disappearing. A child should not be. I mean, circumcision was even one that didn't believe in nothing circumcised his child. Now it's coming to this already. Here in America. I don't know. It's awful. I'll give you that article. You'll see it.
I'm gonna, when I'm in Kishinev, by the way, are there any specific sites, places, if they're still standing, I should kind of...
I know the Chalampusky was the main street. I still remember that. The most important street to me was Popovsky, 16, my yeshiva. I wish you would see if the yeshiva is still there in the Moshe Bazian. I thought that they are, maybe that the building is still there and they're opening the yeshiva there to replace it again. But what's the difference?
Is there a stadium in the town?
Yes. Yes, sure,
Is there?
they were
That's why
playing
they do-
soccer.
Yeah, that's where they kind of, for the deportations, they
Yeah,
the Jews
yeah,
to the
yeah,
stadium.
yeah.
Remember that.
In every
Shul is right, Yeshiva today is right across the street from that stadium.
yeah,
There's a shul there. I don't
Yeah,
know exactly where that is.
yeah.
All right. So basically,
The synagogues like the Hakesh Shul, the Kor Shul, are they still there?
I don't know. I'll find out. I saw a picture of Rabbi Cyrilson's shul, which is, the walls are still standing, but it
Still
looked
standing.
pretty, doesn't look, it needs
They'll
major
have-
renovations.
I'm
yeah.
not sure. He was the first one I hear to get killed.
What did you hear?
That a bomb hit him, and they never even found his head.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's right.
Such a tzaddik.
What?
Let me tell you something. I brought up Baruch Hashem a mishpacha here of 6 children, 3 sons and 3 daughters. First 3 daughters and then 3 sons. Baruch Hashem, every one of my daughters. I have one daughter in Borough Park. She's married to a Belzechosid. His father, I think, was a Bababuch in Gansen. If you heard of him, maybe Shimon Fleischer.
I know well.
You know, this is my
He's
son-in-law.
a special guy.
Oh, you should rest in peace. He passed away in Israel. And my other son-in-law, a Lubavitcher, Kolodny. He never just passed away 3 months ago. He was 43 years old.
That's your son.
That was my son. He left 8 children, 7 boys and a girl. Baruch Hashem, every one of my grandchildren are Talmidei Chachamim. Every one of them, even the girl, goes in yeshiva. My children all went from A to Z to yeshiva. My daughter, Judy, she teaches in the yeshiva now. She teaches computers. But Baruch Hashem, she can learn in Miriam. She's never teaching her refuah shlema. She has leukemia, and last summer she had a transplant, and health. And it's going to take about 5 years before you know, but it looks good, Baruch Hashem. The only trouble that never he passed away. You see, she at this time, but she's a tzaddikus. She takes it with love, and she says, "Look, that was the will of Hashem, and who are we to question?" She thanks God that he went so fast, that he didn't have to suffer. That's the main thing, and that's it.
What would your parents say to your children and grandchildren? What would your parents say if they saw your grandchildren?
Oh, they would have lots of nach. I have lots of nachas, Baruch Hashem. My grandchild got married to Alexander Hasidim, and I have Kanai Nor 3 great grandchildren, some of the Shvashtei werden. And my son Menachem has 2 boys, twins, and they're wonderful in the yeshiva, Baruch Hashem. My Benji has a son and 3 daughters, all go to yeshiva, and they're all Shem Shabbos, they're Shem mitzvahs, and this is what counts. And it's not how many millions of dollars you have. Baruch Hashem, they're okay financially too. Adank Hashem is Baruch. Every one of them have their own houses and everything. So I'm very thrilled about that. I have a lot to be thankful to Hashem is Baruch. I give Shabbat for saving my life, and for bringing me here, and for giving me these children. And to me, my whole life were my children. Every breath and everything was my children. In Adank Hashem Yisborach, in America, I brought up children, like you would say, in the best places in Europe. And that I don't have to say that I cannot drink a glass of water by my children. Baruch Hashem, I could eat by my children, and I go every time to my children. They're all glad kosher, Baruch Hashem, and there's an Yiddishkeit in every corner of the house, and I'm thrilled about that.
Is there some, from all of this experiences that
Well, I told my children,
what lesson do you want them to walk away with, to learn?
Well, the lesson that I want them, first of all, I wanted that the Chazanische tradition should remain. Leider. You know, like it's written, Alela Anibachir, and that I cry for that, because I grew up, even when I come to Israel, I see the same thing. They daven in the shul, Gigim Afurub, there's no nusach, there's no nothing. Every Second Avenue melody is there, and this is a terrible thing. It's a loss to these generations. You know what it means not to know. Anyone will tell you that it's Yishul Shigolim. That knows. Here, they go over to the Omed, they don't know Nusach whatsoever. No Nusach, no. When I was Chazzan at Eitz Chaim, they would send over a guy like that. I was furious. I said, how can you do this? It's because of the young children I don't want them to.
Yeah. For your grandchildren, do you have any Yiddish lullabies?
Sure.
Let's hear one.
This
is an honor of your grandchildren.
I have plenty of lullabies.
Let's hear some.
First of all, you know about Unterit alles Vigale. You know this one?
There? Not for me, it's not for me, for the grandchildren. Let me sing it to them.
Steht a klore weiß Ziegele, das Ziegele ist gefuhren handeln. Das wird sein dein Beruf, Rosen Kiss mit Mandeln. Schlaf, Ziegele, schlaf, schlaf, Ziegele, schlaf. This is a very, very...
Yes, Rosenblatt sing a
Yeah.
lullaby, which...
Wait, there is also Öfen Pripetche, brennt a fire und in Stub is heiß. You got it?
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful... I have a song that brings in all the songs of the year.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at you. The truth of the matter is, you're asking me, and I'm telling you that Yiddishkeit, okay, is not only learning. Learning is a wonderful thing that we sit in the Beis HaMedrash and we learn, but the most deepest feelings that you can arrive is from melody. When you go into a synagogue and you hear that cantor and you hear that choir, and you melt. You know, they say that a chazan is a nar. Did you hear that expression? Why? Because it's written that the Rebbeinu Shalom melts when there is a beautiful melody, when a chazan sings well, the Rebbeinu Shalom really melts from that beautiful melody and that beautiful zogert. So it's written that the Shari Teshuva are open for him. And if he can go in right to the throne, and he doesn't, this is a chana. You know, he's not too smart about it. I am very angry when a child does not know to go over into daven a plain minche. We did it in the yeshiva. We had to know the nusach. Du khoin Eliuzo das lamet an Spino khonein mit de Biniot gebot Ratu Hashem khoyen naduas Ali ben dir der sag de korvein no kein la vit sag ya gatere bi de Jerusalem lo gebot Ratu Hashem royet ze bi shuva slachlo vinkoton Megalon malkino givoshonu ki mochzol yagod bodu ratoshem khavonun hamarbel islam. That's the middle of the weekday davening. That shows children know nothing here. Many yeshiva leida don't know to read the Hebrew well. That I am against. First of all, a child, a Yiddish kind, has to know to read Hebrew fluently. That's the number one.
Let's try to teach the yeshiva edition of today. These kids know nothing. I mean, they don't know.
How about Dikduk?
All that, yeah.
Dikduk is part of us. Okay? When a child comes into a shul and he sees the way they sing you could dance over there. It's a love song, isn't it? Come on, that doesn't belong there. None of the songs belong in davening. Davening has its own nusach. A good chazan or a good tefillah, he will go over Shabbos.
Do you hear Shlomo Kaba? Did you ever hear him?
I heard him very, very well. Shlomo Kalba was not a chazan. He was not a tefillah even. He composed songs, okay? And these songs had nothing to do with Nusach HaTefillah either. Man redel mir ganz schwer. He was a fine composer of these little things, and maybe if not him, there would have been none of these singers that you have today. He was the number one. But we're speaking now about Nusach HaTefillah. The beauty of our tradition is that everything has its niggun. Friday night, okay? Mizmor Shel Yom HaShabbos. Hashem Elokim Levesh, when you finish. Mariv has its own nusach.
Say Rosa de Shabbos.
Rosa de Shabbos.
Give me a little bit
But-
of Rosa Shabbos.
Well, you know, Rosa de Shabbos, Shabbos. But we speak about now, Rosa de Shabbos is not even nusach.
That's right.
That Pinchik brought it in so people know it. But Lachun Elanu Hashem, Aboim Shona. Aboim Shona Kud Bedoir, Voimar Anto Yelemavim, Vehem, Lo Yodu Deruchoi, Asher, Nirmati Viapi, Im Yavon, El Melchosi. This is the Nusach. Okay. Mizmor Shel Yom HaShabbos. That's already in minor. The other one was in major. Okay? Heute nur mit der Seher Sheden Rananimiyo Leagi Giyushar Hashem Tzuvori Veloi Avelo Soboy Mikolos Moraim Maim Rabim Adirim Milbereyom Adir Bamur Mashem Eloisem Echonam Milvezo No Avokodesh Adoshem Leorech Yomim. This is the Nusach. You could do this in 100 different variations, but it's going to be Nusach. Okay, here for example, this is the American way. By us, we did it different. Baruch Hu Hashem